Hi guys, hello boys and girls, and welcome back to Robby's English Comedy video blog. Now, in today's video, I'm going to tell you about the fact that sometimes what we say to the other person, or in my case, what I write on my blog, or I talk about in my videos, sometimes it can be perceived differently, right? Basically, I mean it in one way, but the other person, or a group of people, perceives the message the wrong way. Maybe it's because of the way I communicate the message, or sometimes it just happens, you know? Miscommunication just happens despite your best efforts to make sure that the message is sent out very straightforward and clear, and despite the fact that you're trying to get rid of all the ambiguity, right? It just happens sometimes, right? And what exactly I'm talking about here in this video is the fact that sometimes I talk about grammar, right? And how it's not really necessary, right? But at the same time, I've always emphasized the fact that you have to self-correct, that any intelligent person would not just try and get away with speaking grammatically incorrectly. They would try and self-correct, and over time, as you keep correcting yourself, and you may want to click on this link to read more about the self-correction. And this is actually a big deal, right? Because a lot of people get in touch with me asking me, Robby, how can I be sure that whatever I say is correct? Especially if there's nobody else around to correct me. And that kind of ties in with the whole spoken English self-practice concept. I keep telling my audience that you got to be speaking with yourself. So it begs the natural question, if I speak with myself, who's there to correct me? And my answer is always self-correct. Don't forget the fact that you have the natural ability to correct your own speech, right? Give yourself more credit than you do, right? And here's the link, just like I said, click on it, read about it, and that is how you develop the instinct for correct speech, and that's how you improve your English over time, right? And yeah, what I was going to say is the message that is sent out there, right? The message that I communicate with my audience by saying that grammar is not really that necessary. Don't think about grammar. Forget about grammar. Some people think that what I mean is that you have to be careless in the way you speak, that you can speak however you want and you don't have to pay any attention as to the correctness of your speech, right? To a certain degree, it's true. You don't have to be afraid of making mistakes, right? And I suppose this message kind of gets what's the word, magnified, you know what I mean? By the fact that sometimes I say that you don't have to be afraid of making mistakes, so people kind of think, hold on a second, Robby says that grammar is not necessary, don't be afraid of making mistakes. So what it means is you have to make a lot of mistakes, don't care about grammar, speak however you want, right? That's not the way I mean it, guys. And I'm basically recording this video to send out a strong message to you that what I mean by saying that don't care about grammar and make a lot of mistakes is, first of all, you don't have to be afraid of making mistakes. It's going to happen, so you have to accept the fact that you're going to make mistakes no matter what way you approach the whole thing, right? More often than not, if you try not to mistakes, you'll end up making more of them. So you may as well just embrace the concept that you're going to make them anyway. So don't limit yourself. Just go about your speech the way you normally do, right? And what I mean by saying not to care about grammar is that you don't have to analyze your speech as you speak, because that's what we're taught in the school, right? In our English class, you got to be creating grammatically sound sentences as you speak. But that flies in the face of the whole fluency concept, which is all about speech automation. You can't be analyzing your speech. It can only happen by way of imprinting those speech patterns into your brain, into your mouth, and being able to speak automatically and improvise as well, okay? So you don't have to care about the grammar aspect in that sense, but I'm not saying that you have to keep speaking the way you speak in case you're making a lot of mistakes. You have to self-correct over time, and provided that you're intelligent enough, I don't see any reason why you couldn't go down that path, right? Look at me. I was speaking very, very bad 10 years ago, right? 10, 9, 8 years ago. Then I kept working on my speech, especially focusing on the phrases and idioms and all that kind of thing. And over the course of the last 8 years or so, a lot of those speech patterns have been imprinted into my brain, which makes me speak pretty much without any mistakes. I'm not saying that I'm not making any mistakes at all, right? All I'm saying is that the number of mistakes have gone down drastically. Now my speech is more like that of a native English speaker, right? But it's all because of the self-correction, constant adjustment, constant feedback. Just speak and then go back what you said, and most likely you will notice when you say something wrong, so you have to look it up later on, what way you have to say it correctly. So this is what I mean by saying that you don't have to care too much about grammar. Don't care it at that particular moment in time, at the moment of speaking. But then you kind of have to analyze your speech a little bit after it's happened and correct it for later use. You know what I mean? The feedback has to be there. You can't just go about it totally carelessly, thinking that it's no big deal, right? It's not really, that's not really what I meant by saying that. So I just wanted to go on record by saying that you have to care about the correctness of your speech. You have to care about grammar, but not in the traditional meaning of the word, right? When traditionally people would say you have to improve your grammar, then you would jump right into your grammar studies, pull out the textbooks, start filling in gaps and cramming the grammar rules and word lists and whatnot. That's not going to improve your speech. It's going to improve your ability to pass certain tests and whatnot. But as far as your speech, you got to be speaking grammatically correct speech patterns. If you make a mistake, no big deal. Don't care about it. Don't care about grammar and make mistakes at that particular moment in time. But going back after the speech, right? You have to analyze your speech. You have to realize what you have said wrong. You have to self-correct, adjust your speech, and going forward, a few years down the line, your speech is going to become way more fluent and way less errors are going to be happening as you speak, right? So that's exactly what I mean by saying that. So that's about it, my friends. If you have any questions, obviously, feel free to publish them in the comment section below, and chat to you soon. Bye-bye.